In this video, we're going to create a custom tile surface texture and then max out the settings by creating a symbol fill with lines and arcs to match our pattern. We'll create an image fill using graphic overrides, and we'll also create some cool 3D views in both OpenGL and the vectorial engine. Plus, I have a bunch of other tips and tricks to show you along the way, so let's get after it. Alright, so I'm excited about this video because this is going to be a pretty fun exercise. I love creating these kind of custom textures and symbol fills, and it's just a fun workflow. And I would encourage you, before we really jump into this exercise, that you can follow along with each one of these steps here. So any image that you find online, you can really do this exact same thing with. It's always helpful to have an image that's very, very square to the camera, where it's not angled like this one, but very flat. And really, you can do this with any image that's nice and flat. We can prepare it. In this case, I'm going to prepare the image in PowerPoint, and then we'll bring it into ARCHICAD and start really dialing in this material. But the power behind this is this can really create a value add to your clients and create a value that you can offer through your services. Because if you're working with your clients to go through and pick out the finishes on their project, often they'll want to see how this finish will actually look as the end result. And by following these steps in this video, you can quickly just go through, grab whatever tiles that they're looking for, whatever finishes, bring it into, in this case, PowerPoint. We'll prep it, and then we'll bring it into ARCHICAD, and then you can really give them what, you can give them a preview of what that final look will actually be. So, okay, so that's really the power of this workflow. And let's start jumping into it now. So what I've done here is I was just searching online for some interesting types of tile. I found one here actually on Wayfair that I thought would make a good demonstration, just because it's very, there's a lot of repetition in it. We can just model in or draw in certain parts of it and then copy it around. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing in this case. We can kind of see what it looks like as like a finished surface here. Yeah, so that's the one I picked. All I did was I just kind of copied that image. I brought it here into PowerPoint. And whenever I'm working in PowerPoint like this, it's great to have just an image as an option here, but it's also nice to have some variations. So what I've done is just gone through and just really traced over. You can see here, if I copy this, we'll paste it here and send it to the back. You can see that we've just created some basic elements, really just some triangles and some lines to kind of grab that geometry. And what's nice about this is now we can kind of take a look at some different variations if we wanted to, and we could test out some different options of this particular pattern within ARCHICAD. So it might be tough to find some of these online just for purchase, such as like, the original, but sometimes you can find something and get the different color scheme very close, and it can just be interesting to kind of play with a few different options. So, okay, first thing here is we need to, I've actually cropped this image down a little bit because it had a little bit of a border on the outside. What I'm going to do is we're just going to save as a picture. And in this case, I'm actually just working, I've created just a folder on my desktop for the blog, custom tile and material. And we're just going to call this tile star 1. And I like saving these as a PNG. So, okay, we're going to just save this now so we have that one texture saved. If we wanted to, we could of course go through and we could save out different versions of them here, but we'll go through and maybe we'll do that at the end, do some different comparisons at the end. So, okay, so we have our image. Let's go and we'll open up ARCHICAD here. This is just a blank file that I've kind of rigged up for building objects. And so this is a nice kind of simple layout here we can use for this purpose. And so let's start by bringing in that image fill. So I can go to the folder. We can just take this, drag and drop it because we know it's nice and square, and we don't have to crop it or anything. And what we'll do is I'm just going to do a Control K to resize, And I know this is a 10-inch by 10-inch tile. So I'm just going to grab our extents here. We're going to shrink it down, and I'm just going to type in 10 inches. And now we know that this should be 10 inches in each direction, which it is. So great. So there we go. We're going to bring it up. Let's just kind of snap it to our base point here. And okay, we now have our image in ARCHICAD, and we can start working with this. But I think the next step here that I want to do is let's create a new surface for this. And before we actually do that, what I think I'm going to do is let's go to our library manager, and you can see I have several different libraries set up here. Let's just add a new folder. And in this case, I'm going to grab the folder that contains our blog here. So we've now loaded this. Let's just reload and apply. And so now we have anything that we save within this folder here as an option. So we can see we even have some PowerPoint files. Obviously that's not going to do us much good, but we have our PNGs. So anytime we save a new version of this or duplicates, we can have all of these stored in just that one folder in our library manager. Makes it a lot easier. It also makes it easy if we want to just override this particular file, that we don't have to go back and relink as if it was part of the embedded library. It's just a little bit cleaner to do it this way. So, okay, so there we go. Next step here is let's go in and actually create a new surface. And so in this case, we will, let's jump over to our basic for the moment. We will just create a new, and we'll duplicate, and we're just going to call this star tile. Okay, so we'll duplicate. We'll go browse, and because we've added that linked library here, we can just go in and find it under our blog star tile star, I guess is what I called it. Okay, so there we go. We'll set our size 10 inches by 10 inches. Great. And yeah, we'll come back in here and we'll change some of these settings a little bit later. We'll definitely go in and set our vectorial hatching, but that's going to come up in the next step after we create the symbol fill. So, okay, there we go. Let's do just a little bit of modeling here. I'm going to set this to a basic structure. We can set this to tile flooring. We're just going to call this tile finish. And we'll set our size to maybe 3/8 inch, bottom at 0. Okay, so let's just do, say, like, because it's a 10 inch by 10 inch, let's do 40 inches by 40 inches. And of course we have a few settings here we can change. Let's use the fill from the surface. We have not assigned the surface just yet. But let's go in and do that. So our surface here, we will go and find, where is it? 0931 is our CSI category for tile. We'll pick our star tile. We can override all those sides. And now we can start seeing this come through. But you'll notice here that our fill, our fill's a little bit off, but that's okay. We're going to correct that here in the next step. Let's go to 3D. There we go. We can see that we have this set up. We can see it's all based right now, nice and clean from our origin point. And okay, so with that, let's we can go ahead and let's start building on our actual symbol fill. Now this is one of those steps that's pretty fun to do. We'll have to take a close look at our image here and see how well this really is set up for it. I can actually see as I zoom in here, our center point is not quite in the center there. We can see it's off a little bit. And so we'll probably just use this kind of as a guide here. But the first step is I want to actually just center this up. We'll just snap this to the middle if I can get those 2 points to meet. Let's turn on some guidelines, and we can see we already have some set up here because it's kind of part of our rig that's already working. Let's grab some lines, and we'll just kind of start by creating a little cross line here. And the other thing that we can do is let's just create our outline. So there we go. So we have our border, at least for this texture. We have our kind of our line that we'll use as like a symmetry line as we're working in this direction. But okay, we got a little bit of kind of an issue here that I don't necessarily like, and that is our image is not really well lined up. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to shift our image over, because we can do this kind of independent of our rig now. And so that's already looking better. Let's create that little center circle, and I want to be careful here that I'm working only with my lines and not snapping to any of the points in the image, because we've now adjusted that. So let's go 1/4 inch. I'm actually going to take this whole thing and we're going to shift it down a little bit. Okay, there we go. So now we're kind of lined up in both directions. Much better. So, okay. So next step here is we can actually just take that line, and just so that we have kind of a nice clean one running up the middle, we'll put one there as well. And then next step here. So I'm thinking I might actually, let's see, we'll just start from this point right here. Actually, I'm sorry. We're going to start from this point. We're going to go straight up, and we're taking this all the way to the edge. We're going to bring it straight down, and then we will close this out to that point. So we don't need to be working 100% based off our center point here, but we just want to get this very close. So, okay, so that's step one. Let's, next step here is, we can just take these two. And actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a guideline in here directly on this one. And then we'll take that guideline and we'll just kind of shift it over here. We'll go 1/16 of an inch, and we will be working with this guideline now. So, okay, let's take our line and we'll just kind of trace from this point up. We can see that it's not quite 100% parallel here, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can kind of create our own, lines here. So we'll bring it to maybe this point. Once again, I'm going to take a guideline here, and then we're just going to take that guideline and we're going to snap it to that point right there. And so we can now take our line and we'll bring this straight down, and there we go. So we are partially done with this. Let's continue on here. We're going to take it from this point up to this point, from here up to here, and then let's close it out like this. Okay. Excuse me. Next step here is I'm kind of debating. I think I might want to actually keep this on the edge, but we may give it a little bit of an offset. So, okay, there we go. We're going to close this one out. We're going to offset these just a little bit. So let's set this over 1/16 of an inch. Ooh, that's far too much. Let's offset it to about right there. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. So now that we've done that, we can take all these that we are keeping, and I'm going to group that section up. We can group this section. I'm going to unselect that. So we'll group those. And last step here is I want to actually trim down this line, because we have this little bit of interconnection line right here. And we'll trim, we'll kind of pull this one over. Maybe we'll just stop it kind of right at that point. And this point. And okay, next step. We got our center lines. Let's do a Control-Shift-N to mirror. So we're going to mirror right along this. There we go. And we can see that we have pretty much our entire thing working now. So we'll grab these. We'll grab these. This is our entire pattern now. So I'm going to group them. And this would be a good time to do our rotation. So we'll do rotate a copy, distribute, -1. We're doing 3 of them. We'll rotate to our path. And so we're just going from our center point out, or we'll go straight up, and we're just going all the way around 360 degrees. And there we go. So now let's just pull our pattern off, make sure that we are looking good. We'll get rid of any other we'll turn off our guidelines for the moment. We'll get rid of our other little guidelines that we had created here and make sure that we look nice and clean, which I would say we do. So there we go. We've now created this pattern. Didn't take too long. We'll now just select it all. And let's see how many. Okay, I only had one there. That's good. Okay, so we're going to grab this all. We are going to copy, and then it's time to create our image fill. So anytime that we do this here, sorry, not an image fill. We're creating our symbol fill here. So let's create a new. We are going to call this 0931 star tile. We're going to check our symbol fill option. Okay. And we're just going to paste. And let's zoom out a little bit. We can see our pattern there. We can see that we are already set with our correct size, 10 inches by 10 inches. Our pattern here is actually not terrible, but we could actually go through and I'm just holding down and just kind of clicking these off. And we can create one that's probably a little bit closer. So the main feature of this is we have, well, let's just do a center line and another center line. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can see up in this corner here that as we click these little dots, it's going to adjust. So I just want this to be very close. Okay, so that looks like a star, close enough to recognize. We'll turn this on as a cover fill. We don't really need this as a cut fill, although let's leave it on as an option for all of them. We want to make sure that we are scaling this with our model size because this is a fixed size of 10 inches by 10 inches. We don't want it to be dependent on our view scale. And okay, with that, let's hit OK. And next step is let's just go into our surface. And we now just go and find that our star tile. We can change our pen color here. Let's just go to like a light gray. And we can see our surface color is black. We'll leave, actually, let's go white for now. We'll just kind of do these opposite for the moment. Oops, let's, actually, I'm going to cancel out. I changed that specular and I don't want to do that. We'll go back in, change our pen to white or a light color. So we're doing white on dark. In this case, kind of the opposite scheme of this. We'll go grab our star tile, hit OK. And there we go. We can now see our tile is matching up. Next step here, though, is we need to actually define our location here. So we can actually see that this is going to just be our default. This one actually gives us the handle that we can move this around with, which is really nice. If we wanted to, we could add this one, and this would actually allow us to scale things if we wanted, but that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So let's just go with this one. We can set it right here, and then if we click this on and off, it'll reset it to the center. And because our shape is all 40 inches by 40 inches, it's nice and clean in that respect. So we see this in 3D. We can actually see that our pattern is off just a little bit now. And so this is the perfect time that we can use our document creative imaging align 3D texture settings, and we can set the origin here. I use this all the time, so I like having this down here as part of my little work profile here. If you want to use the Contrabim work profile, then I'll post a link to the blog where you can download that. It has a lot of kind of nice features that have been pulled up here. So we can always reset this. We can change our direction by rotating here. It's kind of tough to see because of the star symbol, but you'll see our lines are now rotated. We can reset it, set our origin point, and now we are kind of back to where we wanted to be. So, okay, there we go. What's awesome with this though is now in our 3D OpenGL view, obviously we get this coming through nice and clean, but if we switch our 3D styles, we can switch this over to technical drawing, and now we can start seeing that pattern coming through, which is just really cool because this is kind of a preview of how things are going to look in like a 3D document, as well as a like a section or elevation. And so this 3D vectorial viewpoint is just pretty cool for getting these different views. We can always go back into our surface settings. We can switch this around, maybe make this like a light gray as our surface color. We can make our pen any color we want. We could go black in this case, and we can really kind of switch up and get like some previews of some different color schemes with this. So this is pretty cool. We can always override this with whatever settings we have in our 3D styles here. So if we wanted to change like our contours to, I don't know, like a bright pink for whatever reason, then we could do that and get some different colors coming through. So tons of different options here in ARCHICAD for getting these different views, which yeah, is pretty cool. So okay, so from here, next step, let's actually go through and we'll create an image fill for this same texture now. So the way that we can do that is we'll go back into our fill settings here. We can create a new, and we'll do an image fill this time. Again, I'm going to do 0931 star tile. Does it allow me to do that? I think it does because it's a different type. Oh, name already exists. So we'll call this image, okay. And so once again, we can go through and we can just kind of uncheck these if we don't want them. It's kind of the default shape by the image. It's like a camera shape, I think. And so with this, once again, we can create a little star here. Maybe we'll do it just slightly different if I can get my mouse working. We'll give it a little bit more of like a space there in the middle. Okay, kind of close. Yeah, we'll leave it. Okay, so now we can just go into our browse, and because we already have loaded this up, we can find it right there, star tile. There we go. We just need to set our size. Okay, and yeah, now the next step here is I think we're good. We just need to change our cover fill. We're scaling this with our model size again, not our paper size. So we'll hit OK. And so now, of course, we can go in and we can set this. But whenever I do this, I like having this kind of all packaged up into an image fill override, which we can see right now is not working. But we can go in and we can adjust our image fill for, you can see these are all different flooring surfaces. We can go in, we can set our criteria here to be working on our star tile, where anything that has that surface, it will come up as our surface or as our override criteria. And then we just need to go in and we can set this as our star tile image. Okay, so we do that, exit out, and now we can see that coming through. So, okay, there we are. One thing that's a little bit of a challenge sometimes with using these image fills is you can see that the base point is not really moving at all when we move this. So that's one kind of limitation I've found. I need to figure out a way to kind of work around that to get that not to be moving. I guess when we bring it right to our base point, that is probably why. So yeah, is there a setting in there? I'm not sure if there is for adjusting this where it's independent. Keep original proportions. Yeah, we need like an option for an origin here. I don't know if that's going to change it at all. So yeah, it doesn't really move for us. So anyway, yeah, one limitation of the overrides there. But now what's cool is we can switch back and forth. Of course, in this view, we can control our our cover fill pen and background just right here as well. So once again, we have the options of going through, kind of picking different color schemes and really testing out how some different views are looking. So yeah, we are getting close here. Let's pull up a wall finish. So we'll do this for our tile wall finish. And let's just create like a little bit of a surround here. Let's make this a little bit larger. Maybe we'll go push this out another 20 inches. Let's create that wall. So with this, we'll set our base at 0. We'll set it to 6 feet tall. Let's check our surface settings. Where's our surface settings? All the way at the bottom. Okay, we'll set this to our star tile. And let's just create a little bit of, say, like a shower surround. Okay, we can take this whole thing. Let's kind of center it up 20 inches in that direction, 30 inches in that direction. So we're nice and centered. We're going to pull this off to the side again. And okay, let's check this out. Okay, so we are still in our vectorial engine, but you can see that we get a nice preview coming through. So at this point, obviously we can start going in and just once again tweaking our settings. If we wanted to go back to black, we could do it this way. We got the override that's controlling everything. We could go change this back to our normal settings here. So that speeds things up quite a bit. We could even render a little preview here if we wanted. So one thing that we'll probably have to do here is we didn't match our render settings. So let's go in and do that. We'll cancel that one. Don't save. Go in. Cinerender. Let's update Cinerender from our basic. So of course there's a bunch of different things in here that we could go in. We could turn on some reflection. We'll just kind of leave this as our base. Turn on a little, oh, that might be way too much. I don't get into these too often, but I probably should. So turn this down a bit. Turn it down a little bit more. You can kind of see our preview there. Okay. So we can render one out now. And yeah, it's not looking too bad. So let's let this go for a second and say we want to mix things up a little bit with a different scheme coming through. So what I'm thinking let's do is let's pull this one through. I think there's just a few little things here I probably want to update. So let's change these lines from gray to, let's make them black. And I'm kind of liking that look. One thing we can do is let's just group. And you'll notice if we want to save this out right now, I think it would probably have a little bit of an overhang here. One workaround for that, and actually I'm seeing as I go into this corner here, I feel like this one we can push down and get that right on our edge. Might clean that up just a little bit. One cool thing with PowerPoint is if we take a square and we kind of pull this square over, we can take this grouped item, we can copy it, we can go to this square here, we can turn on our picture and texture fill and just paste from our clipboard, and now we have a nice clean version of this. So we can turn our line to black, and now we can see that this is a nice variation of that. So we can take this. I'm going to do a save as picture. If I overrode that version there, then yeah, if I did that, then it would automatically update everything. If we do the star tile version 2, then to go through, we could just duplicate our surface here. Let's go back to our basic engine. Let's go new. We'll call this green. Duplicate. Browse. One thing here is we just need to go and refresh our library because we have it as a linked library. So as soon as we do that, we can see that new one popping up there. Let's go back to our surface. Settings. Then we just browse. And there it is. Okay, so now we've updated this. We can change different settings here. We can make this kind of like a green on white. We go to 3D here. So everything that we have selected, all of our walls, we just simply need to go and re-specify now. So we change this to green and we get a totally different look coming through, which is pretty cool. So yeah, let's render one out like this after we go in, and let's just change our settings there. So Cinerender, let's match update from our basic. And so that turned off our reflectance there. We can go in and we can add another layer. We can let's do something different this time. We could try our Fong. Let's turn our settings down quite a bit here. So that looks okay. Okay, so you can see how quick and easy this is to just make these simple updates once you kind of have things rigged up and working. And yeah, we can see that this is quite a different, much more intense of a reflection here, but it's interesting. So yeah, definitely much more washed out. Probably needs totally different rendering settings, but or yeah, we just need to tone it down much more. But okay, so I think that pretty much covers the basics of what I wanted to demonstrate in this. To kind of recap, what we've done is we just found an image online that we wanted to work with. So again, this is a workflow that you can work with, obviously, with your clients. So tell them to go find the tiles that they want to have as kind of their feature floor or backsplash or shower tiles. Go get a few different options. You can see how quick this is to bring this through. We can create a few different variations as well. We brought this in. We set this up as, just starting with bringing in our image. We then went through and built our line work so that we could go copy this, bring it through, and update our, or sorry, just copy and paste this directly into our symbol pattern here. We also created our image fill. What else did we do? We did a graphic override by going through and just simply applying that based off the surface. So we did quite a bit in this video. If you have any questions on any part of this workflow, then just let me know. Leave it in the comment section. And as always, if you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so that you get the notifications. And if you think you know anyone else who can benefit from this type of workflow, or if you think this is just interesting and want to share it, then that'd be greatly appreciated. And for now, we'll end this one here. And we will catch you on another ContraBIM tutorial video here very soon. Thanks for watching.